there are various reasons why I came up with this topic, a positive approach to rehearsal technique. And the basic one is this. I believe that people should be able to sing from the time they're born until the time they die. For 35 years, I taught at Florida State University, and I had a choir called the Tallahassee Community Chorus. There were about 300 singers in it, and they were ages 18 to 88. Currently at Yale, I teach the Camerata, which is both students and community members, and we go from age 14 to 88. So lifelong singing is possible, but it is possible if you take it on yourself to make the rehearsals positive and figure out how to engage them. Many people have come out of rehearsal with a very abusive rehearsal where everything was negative about that rehearsal. And it was a beautiful product at the very end. But that doesn't promote long-term singing. So what are some of the issues that we will deal with? Well, first of all, we have to deal with warming up the voices. If you could see the screen, you would see there are a number of things that I suggest to you. One is a pamphlet and video called Daily Workout for a Beautiful Voice. And the other one is The Perfect Blend. Is rather humorous as you go through it. Now, how did I get to this positive, idea about rehearsal? Well, they say by your students, you will be taught. And back in 1972, I started teaching, and I ended up at a school that was really quite challenging. The school made an agreement with the city. We had a place called Lake Afton where the boys were kept, and they were wards of the court. And they released them to come to my school to have art, music, and PE. Well, those guys were quite, can I say, a handful. I was a 20-year-old teacher, and some of them were 17 years old, still in the 9th grade. And so the attitude in the room was chaotic, I did what my methods teacher told me to do. I put my name on the board and I said, I'm Mr. Thomas. And they simply ignored me. They were loud for the whole hour, and then they left, called a bunch of names and then left. And then something hit that said, some way you've got to figure out how to reach these people. So how do you reach these people? Yehudi Menuhin says this: all learning is but a bridge from the known to the unknown. And that if you start what they know, you can take them wherever you want to take them. And so with this particular group, it became really important that I figure out, what did they know? Well, at that time, the Jackson Fives were just coming out. They were young and they were the rage. And when those boys came in, I turned up this was way before you could get sued for giving somebody a hearing loss. I turned up the stereo as loud as I can, as it would go. And they heard this music and they went, yeah, they walked in, they went, oh, baby, give me one more chance. Wow, this is music. They still ignored me, but I'd written on the board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 5 was circled, and in each line, and I said, clap on those numbers. And surprisingly, they did something. They were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And on and on and on. And they actually did something with me. We got them engaged. Sometimes we have so many high expectations of where people should be. And the thought is, take them where they are, as these boys are. The next day I played some Bach for them, and they saw the lights flashing back and forth because I had wired up some speakers. And they said, "What is this?" And I said, "That's called fugue." And then the next step was, "We're going to sing a fugue." And they went, "Oh, we don't sing." I said, "Yes, you do." And we went to Jeremiah Ingalls' fuguing tune. And from that point on, that transfer had been made. Now, let's talk about your choir, because, not every choir is going to sound like the Chanticleer, or, the Baylor choir. Not every choir is going to sound like that. People are going to come in lacking that kind of experience. How do you begin to work on the sound? If you can, and I will try to put at least the outline into the chat before it's over or at the end, and maybe you can see some of this. But changing that sound, how am I going to change that sound? Well, you have to show people literally what you're trying to do and your understanding of the voice. Now, basically, we're told that the sound should be a lifted, soft palate, so the sound doesn't go through the nose, Then we have to work on the vowels. Well, in that lifted, soft palate, how do you get to the C? And I say, well, now imagine that you have a pear in your hand and it's imposed, and you can see this in the book. It's imposed right here. Here's the fat part. Okay, and here's the skinny part. Now, the pear can go in a number of angles. Let's say the skinny part is here. No, let's say the big part is here in the front of the mouth, right here, going back, and then the small part is back here. Now, if the big part is there, you're going to get this. Na, 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 na. That's going to be like that, okay? Now, if we move the small part of the pear here and the big part back here, then you'll get a sort of sound that reminds you of the line in Wizard of Oz. If I were the king, it's all suppressed larynx. So then we move the pear right into this angle right here and that's the fat part, and the skinny part is up here. And then you will get that balance of what you want. Now, there's an equation I'm going to give you, and I hope you write down. The equation is FP minus AP equals T. So what do I mean by that? Well, FP is what I call my fantasy performance. It's perfect. It's in tune. It's balanced. They're singing with a commitment. It is just my fantasy performance. Then my AP, remember the equation is FP minus AP equals T. My AP is my actual performance. So what is really meant by that? The actual performance is what I hear the minute I give my downbeat. Okay. Then the difference between those two, FP minus AP equals T, is what I have to teach the ensemble. And yes, choral conductors are teachers. Okay? And if we teach successfully, then there is a result. Now, why is that equation so important to me that came in my mind? It keeps me from slitting my wrists on a daily basis. You go in and the choir sounds awful, and not as, but when I give that AP, I see it and I see how that graph grows. And so as long as they're making a progression in this progression going up toward my fantasy performance, which is up here, here's my AP down here, every time I rehearse them, yay, I've got it. And then I'm okay. But if for some reason it goes like this every day that they're with me, it gets worse. then I know that I have to change whatever I'm doing to teach differently to keep that going in that direction. Now, there is another line here that we talk about. And that line is what we call the effective rehearsal time axis. And what does that mean? You as church musicians know this well. You know, you have rehearsal on Wednesday or Thursday night, and no matter what, Sunday is coming. Okay, that's how much time you have. Now, that means we have to teach effectively, you know, in order to make that progress, making the move forward. Now, this may affect what we choose. Okay, if the choir is, you know, 10 members and you've got one bass and one tenor, probably doing Chesnikov divided. No matter what you do, you're not going to make that happen because you're not going to be able, you don't have the physical means to make that happen. But in today's world, there's so much that is available, and that goes back to literature. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about what I call the rehearsal hierarchy. And know that it is not an exclusive, it is a hierarchy. Number one on that rehearsal hierarchy is correct rhythms and pitches. Now, why is that so very important? That's important because if people learn the wrong rhythms and the wrong notes initially, it is very difficult to teach them differently. So that's my priority when I walk into that rehearsal, is to be able to teach them the correct rhythms and pitches. The second thing on that hierarchy, intonation and tone quality. Okay. Now, notice that I'm saying it's a hierarchy and not an exclusive. So correct rhythms, intonation, okay, because we want to develop that. And one of the most important things we have to do is to teach the chorus how to listen and what to listen for. Now, this hierarchy it includes instrumental music. So we're talking about articulations and bowings is number 3, and diction is number 3. Then number 4, precision. Number 5, phrasing and expression. Number 6, dynamic contrast. Now, why is that further down in the hierarchy? Now, let's talk about reasonable things. If people are trying to read, one of the things they're going to do is they're either going to make as much sound as they can so they can hear themselves to be able to sing, or they'll be so intimidated they won't make any sound. So dynamics is further down in that hierarchy. Balance and blend, you know, you can't start screaming at them about balance. You can't start screaming at them about blend if they don't have a pitch to sing. So that goes back to that first priority, which is correct rhythms and pitches. Now, what are some of the other techniques that we might want to think about when we're in rehearsal? Let's take Handel, for instance, because everybody knows the Hallelujah chorus, but let's go to Judas Maccabeus for a moment. What is it with Baroque music? You've got those fast-moving notes that people have to sing and articulate. And without a whole lot of skill, that can become very difficult. Now, I told you the group was about 300, and yet we're doing All Ye Like Sheep, Messiah, and it's clean as a whistle. How do you get to that thing? There are a couple of things that I would suggest. One is Kenneth Jennings, who was the former conductor of the St. Olaf Choir, published a book by Chose called, let's see, what was the name of that book? It's Warm-Ups by Ken Jennings. One of the warm-ups in there, he was saying, these warm-ups, we do Italianate warm-ups and we sing predominantly in English. Let's make these warm-ups in English. Now, here's the name of the book is Sing Legato. The exercise goes sort of like this, and I hope you can hear. Flexibility, flexibility, sing with light and short notes. Flexibility, flexibility, sing with easy flowing breath. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so they sing that for them, and then you put it into what we call the tactile. So we're doing something like this with our hands. I hope you can see my hand. Let me raise it up just a little higher. I'm going flexibility, flexibility, sing with light and short notes. Flexibility, and use a different finger for every hand, and that will give you the lightness and the buoyancy of it. Now, you'll have to maybe do what they call the beta hypothesis, what you don't want. If we play like this, flexibility, that's what we'll get. If we'll play flexibility, we will get a lighter sound and an articulate sound, and then it is now connected. Now, what do I mean by that? Sing unto God high, affections raised to ground, this conquest praise with unmeasured praise. Now, if I play that, it'll feel like this. Praise, and that will get me to some lightness. Now, do I stop there with just the kinesthetic movement? No, let's talk about what Robert Shaw gave us. And it was the thing that he really built the Atlanta Symphony Chorus on. And for 11 years or so, when he was alive, he came every year to Florida State, and I would prepare works for him to do with our orchestra and choir. And invariably, always, we did oodles of count singing. Shaw's philosophy is that if the rhythm is precise, then blend and balance and all that will occur, especially if you don't do it in a loud dynamic as you're count singing it. Now, let's look at that same melisma. It would be called, he uses these numbers 1 and 2 and T instead of 3 because there are fewer phonemes to get, and 4. So that melisma starts on the third beat. T, E, and a 4, E, and a 1, E, and a 2, E, and a T, E, and a 4, E, and a 1, E, and a 2, E, and a T, 4 and 1, 2, a T. Now, when I'm using something like that, I will have them do it all, count singing it, and even using kinesthetics. And then what I will do after going through that with the numbers, I'll have half of the section sing the vowel, praise, but softer so you can hear the counting. And then I'd have them switch, and then I put it back together. And by the time that happens, it's fairly clean. Now, Rodney Eeichenberger and I did a video quite a while back called "What They See Is What You Get." And it's linking the linking the visual, the oral, and the kinetic to promote artistic choral singing. And so from that, it doesn't say that your choir will be magically perfect, but they will improve. Now, one of the big messages to learn, I'm going to give you a couple of words to say for me, please. The first word is UP, which is up. And if you say up, listen up what happens with your voice. You'll go up. It'll go up. All right. Now, I want you to say the word down. And you would say down, okay? And you'll notice that your vocal inflections reflect the meaning of the word. Now, let's put a gesture to that. If we say the word up, what would you do naturally, if you were to show a gesture and say the word, you'd probably go like this, up or up, okay? And then the gesture for down would probably be this, down, okay? Now, what happens when the gesture, and this gets back to later on to conducting, and the intent send a mixed message? Now, how hard is this? I want you to say the word up, but I want you to do the gesture for down. And I'm going to say 1, 2, ready, speak. Up. Try it again. 1, 2, ready, speak. Up. Now let's try the word down, and let's do the reverse indication with our hands. 1, 2, ready, speak. Down. That's even more difficult. Those are the mixed messages that we sometimes we give to the ensemble. Now, what happens? What does that look like gesturally? We say to the ensemble, we've learned our patterns and we've given 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and the piece is legato. So if you were trying to sing, my country 'tis of thee, and I'm doing this, try it, see how hard it is to sing it legato. Okay, so all of a sudden, that's a mixed message, okay? And then we can't reinforce our intent. Another mixed message, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the actual conducting. The breath center is above your waist, okay? That's how people are taught to breathe in the voice studio, which is a deep breath, like you would, like little babies are able to do. That's the breath center. If we conduct like this, my God, do you see what happens? I wish you were here in the room, because then you could hear what the difference that kind of thing makes. It's, again, one of those mixed messages, and we'll talk about those in more detail later on. Now, I want to give you a couple of rules of interpretation. You say, I've taught the notes. My choir sounds okay, but it's not musical, okay? So whose fault is it if it's not musical? Well, I have to say, and I've had so many different choirs, that when that happens, I have to say it's mine, okay? Don't blame the ensemble, give them some tools. Now, and here are some of these rules. One is the rule of the steady beat. If a note is longer, has a longer value than the beat note, then automatically crescendo. Next rule, rule of word stress. Happy birthday instead of happy birthday, okay? And they'll grasp this really quickly. Hands up. When are we supposed to breathe? When are we supposed to breathe? Then you take them to the rule of punctuation. More than likely, if there is a comma, then you'll take a pause. If there's a period, then you'll take a pause. They're your breath marks, unless there's something musically you want to alter from that, and they will automatically go into that. The rule of the slur. That's the other thing. And especially when people are just beginning to study voice, they think they have to keep everything here and everything has to be the same. But composers don't write music that way. They write it to be expressive. So how do you teach the amateur about being expressive on the slur? Well, the first note is loud, the second note is softer. And so, happy birthday. And reinforce that with gesture, and they're able to do it. Diatonic passages, the rule of the diatonic passage. When it is ascending in stepwise motion, crescendo. When it's decrescendoing in stepwise motion, decrescendo. Now, even your middle school choir, Even your middle school choir is able to do that. So that's the beginning of getting them to a musical area. I wish we had the screen, because then I spend a lot of time on understanding what we call the vowel clock. That means the vowel E is at 12. The vowel I, as in hit, is at 1. Then at 2 is the A vowel, as in May. The E vowel is at 4 as we go around the clock again. And I hold it up and I have them sing those vowels with those symbols. Now, what does that mean? That means that when I get to music and something isn't aligning, I can refer back to it because I've already taught it. Now, reinforcement. This is so very important. Some years back, Anton Armstrong and I did a video called Body, Mind, Spirit, Voice. And of course, Helen Kemp agreed to let us use that title with Dr. Anton Armstrong and Dr. Andre Thomas, featuring the American Boy Choir, the Newark Boy Chorus, and appearance with the Princeton Girls. Using a student model can sometimes work wonders. You have a wonderful baritone, or you want to hear, or you walk around the section and you hear somebody doing nicely, and you say, would you mind singing that for us? And if they start to sing it, you go, yes. Now, baritones, repeat that. Sopranos, etc. You just have to make sure that you don't choose the same person all the time, and that you choose different people, and then that sort of brings us magically toward the end. What I'm going to do now, because we have about 14 minutes and 50 seconds left before the session ends. If you have a question, I'm going to be looking at the chat. And you put in a question you might have about some of the things that we talked about so far. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to think about what else influences our study. And I didn't I didn't really talk about score study and studying that score. And there are many ways to study a score. For me, I begin with what they call color coding. Okay, I've probably heard the piece somewhere before, so I have an idea about it, but I really don't know it. And so I color code. Now, this gives me instantly what the composer has in mind as far as intensity, etc. And I get an awareness of that piece immediately. Pre-COVID, I was always on the plane going someplace to conduct. And I learned a lot of scores on the airplane. I worked on a lot of scores on the airplane. It was great because it kept the person next to me from talking to me. And they go, oh, you're a musician. Yes, ma'am, I am. And back to my score, and to get an idea of that. Now, if you don't know what color coding means, that means in the score, you choose different colors. If there is a crescendo mark, I probably would outline that crescendo in red, the fortes in red, pianos in blue, light blue, another color for mezzo fortes, mezzo pianos, etc. It gives me, that's the first thing. Then I have to give some sort of phrasal, where am I going phrase-wise? Now, we've talked about the rule of punctuation, but how does the phrase shape itself? And so then I have to go through and mark that. I also mark with numbers, and Shaw was very good about that when, having his mark score, what those are. That would be 4 plus 4, 2 groups of 4, or 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3, or something odd, and writing those phrase groupings above. Next thing, if I'm doing a piece in a language, occasionally we will, in the Baptist church, we might do a little Latin. then we have to really understand what that text means. And so I write in my score underneath a word for word of that text, especially if the composer is writing in their native language, because then you get an idea of meaning, and it's just not syllables that people are singing. The more informed they can be in their performances, the more they can own them. They can really own them, and it will be a wonderful experience. Now, the psalm says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Okay. Now, we can't get confused in that passage of make something joyful and just simply loud. Congregations need a whole array of things. Sometimes it's the hymn arrangement that so touches the soul. It might be an anthem that it's very quiet, that, even something as simple as the Tallis, if ye love me, keep my commandments, the message of Jesus there, Knowing what that means is absolutely crucial. It's absolutely crucial. And so I hope this has been somewhat useful for you. I am sorry, Carol, that your screen froze. And if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. I don't know if our administrators are on. If you could, I will try to make at least because a lot of this is copyright material, I will try to put that in an outline and send it to you via the, I'll get it uploaded up for you. Any other questions? I am so sorry. I can't see anybody, so I don't know. It's very weird. Let's see. Let's go. There's Leah. Oh, hi, Leah.
Hi.
Oh, here's a way to see you guys.
I'm here for technical support.
Oh, okay. Well, Leah, we could not get the PowerPoint viewed. I got on early, but there was just no one there to help.
Oh, okay. Well, I can, if you go to share screen, can you see
I can go to share screen. I've
Okay.
tried that before,
Okay.
and I clicked on that, and nothing happens. It's still, they only see just me.
Okay.
It's not quite like Zoom where you put share screen and then you select share my sound and.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm not quite sure. I don't know beyond that.
Okay. All right. Can you contact either the organizers, because
yes.
I need to work this out before the second and third sessions, because it's really important that they're able to see and visualize, especially since, I can't see them either. So is there a way we can organize something?
Yes,
after this session, include it,
Yes, sounds good.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I hope there has been something useful that you have been able to gain from this conversation. Hopefully, if we can get all the PowerPoints working for the next two sessions, the one on the spiritual, you will see, historically where it comes from, ideas about performance practice, various composers and arrangers. Some of them will speak to us, and then we'll take a moment to talk about, the question right now, especially under this time, is it appropriation, and what does that mean? So anyway, thank you so much for attending today. And I wish you a wonderful conference for the rest of the day. Thank you.